Welcome to the Education Innovators Podcast. I'm Eric Byron, and it is my privilege to host this show where I get to talk to folks from all over the world who are education thought leaders and innovators. We'll hear inspiring stories from educators, EdTech founders, AI experts, and others who are fearlessly innovating and delivering unique learning experiences. I'm glad you're here. Let's get started. Experimenting on children? What kind of crazy talk is this? Somebody thinks it's okay to experiment on children? This is one of the latest cries in the battle to keep AI out of schools. We cannot develop AI chatbots by testing them on children. Really? Why not? So there are arguments against developing AI tutors through iteration in the classroom, and they include things like AI is biased, AI has hallucinations, AI tutors don't follow established pedagogies, and AI potentially violates privacy laws and school policies regarding data protection. So I was even told by one teacher that we can't have AI tutors in schools because we must adhere strictly to a do no harm principle. And the AI tutors violate this because of the aforementioned issues. So, all right, let's talk about, I'll take them one at a time. We're going to talk about each of these arguments for why we shouldn't experiment on children with AI. So let's start with bias. So, all right, we're talking about children here, children who spend hours a day on social media. We're talking about teachers who are themselves biased, because we all are, me included, right? Every human has biases, and that's where the AI learns the biases from, right? Things we wrote and created, content that we have developed that's biased. So what's worse here is, social media, teachers, or AI, right, in terms of bias. So honestly, I don't think AI at this stage in its development is any more biased than teachers are, and certainly it's less biased than social media. So, all right, I'm just going to kind of dismiss that one and say bias should not be a reason to keep AI out of schools. All right, hallucinations. Again, every person on this planet, including myself, has something they believe to be true, which inevitably is going to turn out to not be true. Okay, a hallucination. So the good news is that the latest technology and the way that these AI chatbots and tutors are being developed is pretty much all using a methodology called RAG, which stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. So what they're doing is these chatbots are not relying on the internet, generally to form their responses. The responses are based on a database of information and materials that's provided by the teachers. Okay, so hallucinations isn't really, a problem, right now when you use that technology. Now, hallucinations absolutely were a problem in the earliest versions that were publicly offered almost 2 years ago. I don't deny that it was a problem. I don't think it's anywhere near as much of a problem now. And so again, I would argue that hallucinations is not an excuse to keep AI and AI tutors out of classrooms. Okay, 2 down. Gets tougher from here. Pedagogy. So this is probably the most legitimate of the concerns raised, I think. But it's also the primary reason why we need to iterate in the classroom. So we have to train the AI to teach the way we want it to teach, right? So for example, if we want an AI tutor to use Socratic questioning, right? This takes a process of refining and providing feedback, supervised learning, right, for the AI so that it improves in its ability to respond appropriately um, to questions asked. So it doesn't just answer and give students the answer. It gets them thinking and working through the problem themselves, figuring it out. So I'll agree in principle that we shouldn't do this sort of testing and training of AI tutors on young children. We should use older children before doing it with young kids. But most of that work has already been done, right? These AI tutors have been around for years, and recent advancements in the large language models and generative AI have allowed these tutors to be much more effective and to improve exponentially. So there still requires some iteration and human oversight, though. That happens in classrooms. All right, I'm not going to talk too long about the data privacy thing because I actually did an episode on this in season 2, and I'll put the link in the show notes so you can go see the whole discussion that I did around the data privacy thing. But the short version here is that, well, it is a legitimate concern. I don't think it's one that we can allow the fear of um, you know data integrity issues or data privacy violations to be paralyzing, right? We need to take every available precaution and make sure that we are protecting our data and the privacy of the information about the children in our schools. But the potential benefits really outweigh the risk, I think, here, right? If we're doing what we can and should do, then we shouldn't have to not use AI in these scenarios. Now, there's compliance issues, right? There's laws and there's school policies we have to adhere to. And I do think that the primary responsibility there is with the developers of the technology. So, we have to trust but verify there that they are doing what they need to do to protect our children's data. So, again, it's a legitimate concern, but it shouldn't be a complete blocker to using the technology of AI in our schools. All right. So bottom line here, am I condoning experimenting on children? Yes, I am. I really think that we cannot innovate without experimentation. Um, just as we tell our kids, right, that they and our students, right, you should try new things, right? This is how you learn, and it's okay to fail, right? We have to, as teachers and educators, listen to our own advice there. We need to be willing to experiment, to try, to fail, right? And when we adopt these AI tutors into our schools, when we begin to iterate and we begin to use them and we try to refine them and teach them how to teach the way we want them to teach, right? It's not going to be perfect. But is any teacher perfect? No, we all have to get better and better and constantly improve and reflect and, get feedback, right? So this is the expectation we should also have for the AI tutors, right? We've got to train them and get them better. But once we do, they can be highly effective. All right, before I wrap up, I do want to touch on this argument about do no harm. So, do no harm just cannot mean that there is no room for failure. That, because failure is part of the process and it's part of what we need to teach our kids as well, right? We learn from mistakes. Now, we don't want to damage our kids in the process here, right? So, but we also have to understand that kids are pretty resilient. They're more resilient, I think, than we give them credit for. And if they can survive hours every day of social media and the amount of really bad stuff that they're exposed to there, then I don't think an hour a day on an AI tutor is going to do them significant harm. Okay. In fact, I'm pretty sure that done well, right? The AI tutors are going to do way more good than any potential harm that may come from imperfection with a little bit of bias or maybe a little bit of a hallucination or, that sort of thing. Okay. Um, I know I'm touching on some stuff here that is it's tricky, right? It's hard, and um, there's some fear about this technology and what it's doing and how it can work. But I encourage you to use it. It's only through us, right? Through teachers using these tools that we really get them right. Okay. So don't trust somebody else to do it. Roll up your sleeves, get in there, play with these things, and help be part of the solution to it, not just saying, oh, we can't use these because they aren't perfect. All right. I'm Eric Byron. Thanks for listening to the Education Innovators Podcast. Agree or disagree, I would love to hear from you. Please leave some comments, reach out to me, and let me know how you feel about this controversial topic. All right. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. Really helps get those subscriptions going, and it means you won't miss any future episodes. I've got all kinds of great content lined up here. So to all those who are innovating in education out there, thanks for doing what you do. You are making a difference.